Hey, everybody. We are live. It is Wednesday. I'm here with Aaron. I want to thank my sponsors first and foremost, our sponsors. This is Christy and I, of course. It's Wednesday nights. Christy is not currently with us. She is with us in spirit and in other, I don't know, ethereal creations, I guess. So what we're going to do is Aaron and I are going to dive here live on location into a bunch of crazy stuff. But first, Aron Kupcho we've had on for crystal healing and a number of other things, but this time it's going to be Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So hi.
Hey Jared, how's it going?
Good. So I'm going to adjust the mic, but man, what was the last time? The last time we had you on, we were diving into crystal healing, and this time it's like without Christy here and no one to babysit me, which is good, or to guide this conversation. We are clearly going to be going down some rabbit holes that are unexpected, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, so here we go. I'm going to just check the website while we're talking, but hey, would you introduce, oh my gosh, our sponsors, CKC Good Food Catering. We have some great sponsors, Lightcom LLC. We have some people that are sponsoring our KOX, our humanitarian education, and our works. We want to thank those sponsors. And Ascent Nutrition. They are great people, great products, great companies. And thank you for sponsoring our KOX. And now, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. All right. What's been the, I don't know, since we've had you on for crystal healing, what's been going on?
Oh, I've just been working. I've been doing stuff, kind of, doing research and everything too on crystals and kind of their effects and everything, and kind of following some of like Nikola Tesla's research and kind of incorporating that with gardening and some other things too. And
okay. What else has been going on as far as in general? I don't want to jump right into crystal healing.
Yeah.
In general, anything else? I mean, you've been growing stuff. I mean, you've been helping me with what's going to be a garden, what's going to be an ongoing garden.
Yeah. So working on like copper and kind of incorporating copper and kind of how you can use the ionosphere to help grow huge vegetables and everything else. So yeah, that's
okay, cool. So how is that working? I mean, as far as like, I know we were looking at soil. I want to go aeroponically.
Yep.
So I want to put the copper coils and the crystals. I want to organize it in a way where we're going to have water for the base with the nutrients in the water, and the water is going to spray the roots. Then there's, of course, the way that most people making this work. They've been doing it with soil. The problem with most soil is that there's lead and there's heavy chemicals and heavy residues that just don't work.
Yep. And so that's why you always want to get your own soil, your own dirt. Make sure you have your own. Go to, like Home Depot, whatever, all those places, and kind of get your good organic soil as well.
So we are getting started at exactly late. Good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So now, I don't really want to stop as far as what's going on with. Okay.
So a way that you could really grow all these herbs is, let's say that you have like a lot of like herb boxes, and they're in your ground, and you've got like a bunch of, like nice wooden boxes, and you can have all your different vegetables and plants and everything in there. And then what you can do is you can put like some organite, which is basically the same thing as you could have like a copper pole with copper wiring, and put that into all the boxes, and you can put like a crystal at the top. And if you want to, I mean, you could compress it and everything, but you don't really need to, because the ground is going to act as the grounder. So that's going to have everything else. You don't even have to worry about like the extra metals and everything that you would with regular organite. And then you could take a copper wire and wire these all together. So then you would have them all wired together. And then you can then like end it with like a Tesla coil that's kind of going up into the atmosphere. And that kind of it kind of brings down all the energy and everything, and kind of transmutes the soil. And then it really helps to grow your plants.
So they grow faster
and larger. I mean, it's been shown, there's like a bunch of people who have done it. It's been shown to grow stuff like 10, 20 times larger, like huge, like.
Yeah, significantly better.
Yeah. And And another thing that's actually an old school method, if you're starting from seeds, what they want to do is that you want to take the seed and you want to put it in your mouth. And then you want to then plant it, because the seed actually will learn from your saliva, and it'll learn the nutrients that your body is missing, and it'll actually grow in the soil. And this is like an old school method they've been doing since the beginning of time. I mean, our ancestors used to do this stuff, and we just kind of forgot about all this ancient knowledge and stuff that's, you know, that they used to hand down to you. But then when it grows, it actually grows nutrients that your body is needing, like at least what the plant that plant is able to grow, you know, because not every plant is able to like produce every single nutrient. But there's certain plants like basil has been known. I mean that's basically nature's antidepressant. It's been known to like stop like, you know, it basically it makes you feel better, it makes you happier, it increases your melatonin, and like a bunch of different things, you know. So there's like a bunch of different herbs that you can kind of enhance like in a way too. As
so between nutrients for the soil and what we're doing with the crystal, the energizing of it, do you think it's just adding energy that wouldn't normally be in the plant, or do you think it's also blocking bad energy?
I think the crystals and the organite, it basically transmutes negative energy. So how organite works is it's been proven by, you know, like so they discovered organite energy way back when, and it basically was kind of shown that it transmutes negative energy, which they call door, which is all negative energy. And so all the door comes down, and then it gets transmuted into positive energy, which is called orgone, and that gets transmuted back into the atmosphere, back into the soil, back into the earth, back into you. It helps rebuild your cells. It helps like do like a bunch of things.
So I'm going to do this aeroponically into a water tank that's going to have Dr. Joe Wallach's 90 for Life vitamin kind of situation. So, and Dr. Joe Wallach's work is worth looking into. I got to meet him, but his work into the nutrients that we're missing in soil, because we only put like 18 official in fertilizer. There's only like 18 minerals when there's like about 90.
There's 102 essential, like 100 essential nutrients that your body needs.
Okay. So we're short a couple.
Yeah.
So standard food at the grocery store is depressingly not gonna cut it.
Yep. The only food that actually has the most nutrients is Irish moss, like sea moss, which has 98 of the body's 102 essential nutrients. It's literally a superfood.
What about the iodine content? Do you worry about that at all?
No. I mean, as long as you're not like eating like pounds of it. And plus with Irish moss, it actually suppresses your appetite. So it makes you feel full. They basically, in Ireland, when the potato famine happened and you couldn't eat potatoes anywhere and people were dying, that's how they discovered Irish moss. And so all of the poor people in Ireland ate it, and they survived. And they survived the potato famine, and they prospered. And then, but because it was the poor population that did it, it became like, they were like, no, that's not really a real thing. And they wanted to kind of like demonize it as not really like, you know, like until modern days, we've actually have studied it and found that like, yeah, it's like literally a superfood.
I'm going to let you know the progress. I mean, once we get started, everybody, we are going to talk about the progress of the superfoods that we're going to be growing, what the responses are going to be between. I would like to use soil. The problem is that I don't want to upload a bunch of heavy metals that are in everyone's soil everywhere because of all the lead and the use in the ground. It's just, there's just no pure soil left. It really sucks.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've grown hydroponics, but it's that other plant.
I want to do aeroponics. Aeroponics. So it's atomized water mist.
Yeah.
Down to 0.3 microns or 0.6 microns, 0.4. And then you're giving the nutrients just directly to the roots versus the roots being submerged in a pool, which is hydro. And aero is just more efficient. And also it grows 3 times faster. But I'm really curious what's going to happen by the time we put the coils in and the crystals and everything else. I'm really curious how that's going to balance out. But we got to move on because I kind of want to, I don't understand. I know a lot about Nikola Tesla.
Yep.
I don't understand how I don't know that his last patent filed. Can you talk about this thing?
Yeah. So his last patent filed was US 1655114, and it was for a crystal powered aircraft. It was never built. It was in 1921 was he first did the patent. It expired in 1945, and all of his research on crystal stuff has been like gone. But he literally in 1890 he discovered like crystals. He saw like a two-sided like hermitated quartz crystal, which is basically a crystal that has a point on two ends. And he literally was studying his lab and was like, this crystal is alive. It's alive. It's pulsating. It's everything else. Where there's been so much research with crystals, they actually like modern science has found that they pulse, that they are liquid, and they literally are alive.
So like a lot of people don't know this. I have a friend who's a glass artist, and a lot of people don't know that you think of glass being solid.
Yeah.
Glass artists and people who work with glass know that glass is not solid.
Yep.
So are you saying the same thing, that crystals are not solid?
No, it's been proven. They've been not, and they've been Tesla even found too. So like another thing with orgonite is you compress crystals with using like a polymer or like a like an epoxy, and then when you compress them, like Tesla found way back in like the early 1900s that when you compress them, the crystals, they emit 5,000 pounds of energy per or like 5,000 megawatts of energy per pound. So volts, so they can generate 5,000 volts per pound when they're compressed. And they also emit ultrasonic frequencies. They purify water. They've been proven they can help regrow bone growth. He created these crystal like resonators that he would use over his body as like crystal healing. He never saw a doctor in his life because of that. I mean, he like literally.
Do we know how to make those?
Yeah. There was the University of Oregon actually went in and they recreated all of the orgonite and the resonators, and the guy won the Nobel Prize back in like the mid 2000s because he created all of like the orgonite research of like William Reichert, and he recreated all of his creations and proved that they were actually worked, and they did stop cancer. They did stop the other things that he claimed that they threw him in, the FDA threw him in jail for, and he died in jail because of all that. And they actually proved it. The guy won the Nobel Prize.
Really? So another classic example, but the Tesla stuff is the documentation is out there for us to copy what he did.
The government has added, of course they, like with all of it, they gathered all of his research after he died. They went into his labs, and supposedly, who it was? It was
Donald Trump's grandfather.
Yep, his great grandfather. And supposedly, Tesla created a time machine. And there's all that. There's that theory, and there's the whole Barron Trump theory, and all that other stuff. And the whole time.
No,
I
don't even know.
But that's a rabbit hole we don't really want.
All right, let's skip it. I'm gonna drink some more of my water.
Yep. But but I mean, like Tesla's research, he like proved a lot of the stuff, and they saw that he was literally about free energy for everyone, and they had to stop that. So that's why he ended up dying bankrupt and desolate, and all this stuff, because they literally did not want, like the Rockefellers and the other people, they did not want him to give free energy. That would literally like collapse their whole system. All
right, let's talk about this crystal airplane thing.
Yep.
Please. I don't understand.
Yeah. So it's basically, he was using
Tesla.
Yep. And so Tesla was kind of using the ionosphere and like the crystals, and found a way to power them. Basically, I mean, we can't even be live. Yeah, and I mean, we can't even be live right now without quartz technology. I mean, and we're just harnessing the basic stuff. Every cell phone, every computer, everything has quartz. All of the solar panels are made with crushed quartz crystals and coal, and that is what makes a solar panel. And that is and that lets it harnesses energy. Quartz is an amplifier, and it amplifies everything. And so that's why when you use it in conjunction with other crystals, it helps to amplify those things and to,
So it's amplifying. So at the heart of an engine, in this case.
Yeah.
So it's basically electricity. So it's basically a Tesla airplane.
Yeah. I mean, he found when you compress a crystal, 5,000 volts per pound.
When you say
compress, so like orgonite. So basically, a crystal is put in place, and you put like like a polymer. It could even be like a plastic polymer, and it compresses it tight and holds it in place, and that instantly creates energy.
Just
volts.
Having pressure on it.
Yep.
So it's not crushing it.
Nope.
It's just pressure on a crystal
creates 5,000 volts per pound.
Have we replicated that? Do you know? I mean, I don't know if you know, but it's like that's the way.
I mean, solar panels, all that stuff. That's basically doing the exact same thing. It's amplifying the energy.
So he has a patent for a plane in 1920s.
In 1921. And the government stole that research and they are not releasing it. I've got like the basic patent and how he laid it out and everything, and his papers and what he talked about and everything. So I mean, like you can actually like just go with that patent number that I said, and just go and research it on Google Patents or whatever. I mean, it can be any patent, like any patent library, and it's right there. And there's 2 photos of the machine too, as well, on the patent too. So there's 2 photos with little diagrams on the machine.
So it's an engine for a plane that's running a propeller.
It's not even an engine. It's the whole airplane.
What?
He had a patent for the whole plane.
The whole plane was patented.
Yeah. It's an airplane. Yeah.
It was that different.
Yeah. It's an airplane. Yeah. If you look at the 2 pictures, it's not just an engine. It's a whole plane. And then he explains it. And then there's like 8 pages of the patent, him explaining how he's going to harness the energy through the ionosphere using crystal technology and using like literally free energy. I mean, this is the stuff that they were doing back. If we really want to talk about free energy, let's talk about Triteria, and let's talk about all of that ancient technology and stuff that's missing, and how they were able to just harness free energy everywhere, and how energy and sound can heal you.
I know there's a lot. What I'm shocked about is Dr. Anthony Holland's work, which I talked about in my book. And there's a TED Talk, Anthony Holland. Everyone can look it up on YouTube. It gives a TED Talk in about 2008 and says we've killed MRSA, we've killed leukemia, we've killed breast cancer, we've killed. Essentially, look into it, and it's like 36 something viruses. It's 50 something, 60 something bacteria. All of them showing sound and frequency destroying the cancer, destroying the viruses, and this is because he bought Royal Rice work. So and then Anthony Holland comes out in 2008. You guys can look it up. It's a 17-minute or so YouTube video of him speaking on a TED Talk. And what blows my mind is that he allegedly, well, I say allegedly because I've never confirmed it, but he got money to build a research facility or to work with this. And in America, as far as I can tell, I literally cannot find anything that follows up about Dr. Anthony Holland's work about the sound and frequency. High frequency ultrasound is in use in England and in Europe. It's standard treatment. If you or anyone and your loved ones have cancer, look into going to Europe, look into going to South America, Central America. There are places, and apparently there is, I've heard there's a couple places in the United States, but high frequency ultrasound is basically our manifestation of using, you have to, for those of you who are going to look into it, do your own research, but there is this thing about a frequency is correct. The problem with what made Royal Rice work so brilliant is that a lot of people don't understand is that the frequency has to have a wave that can carry it and penetrate the human skin. So you need a plasma wave. So this is a very intense wave. It's not going to fry you, but that wave is the carrier wave for the frequency that you need to destroy the cancer, the bacteria, the virus, whatever it is. You can't just use a frequency that's assigned to a computer that you're listening to from a speaker from a phone. Now,
there's
brain entrainment is great. Like if you're doing some like brain frequency work, you hear something audible through your ears, that might work good for brain entrainment. But if you want to deliver cancer killing waves and frequencies, you have to have a carrier wave. So that's a little bit for everyone out there who wants to get super technical, get into it.
And I actually have the different sound frequencies and the different ones that actually work and for what they operate. Like 285 hertz is for cell regeneration. 396 hertz, it helps to release guilt and shame in your body. 417 hertz, it clears all the negative energy. 528 hertz, it has DNA healing and heart activation. And so it activates the different frequencies within you that help you to actually heal. 339 hertz, it'll actually help heal relationships within yourself because it helps you to connect with that frequency of love within yourself. 741 helps to detoxify your body and to activate your intuition, because once you're detoxified, then that natural intuition starts to come up and you start to actually realize you have all these powers that you don't normally have once you get rid of all the heavy metals and stuff in your body. 852 hertz actually helps to activate your third eye, which helps to manifest. 963 hertz then helps to connect you to the higher consciousness. It helps to connect your crown chakra with the ether, which has been proven. I mean, the ether is one of these, is like, like it's an element that used to be on all of the tables back in the day.
We're all ether, yeah.
And it's not there anymore, and
it's kind of odd about that everything was ether, but now it's not.
Oh, and another thing about crystals too, about them also being a liquid and a solid, is that they vibrate at 786,000 pulses per millisecond. Its continuum moves faster than the speed of light, and basically it vibrates at the exact same vibration as the universe.
What? So, all crystals?
Yeah, all crystals, all quartz crystals.
Huh.
And so that's why we're able to use them for like everything, for for like emitting like frequencies and video waves and putting stuff out there and opening up I mean, basically they operate at the universe. So that means you can use them for whatever you can comprehend, because the universe is infinite, and that means crystals are infinite. And so their power is infinite.
Do you think the universe gets so big at some point that the frequency is going to change? Or no? Is it just like a heartbeat? It just doesn't change.
That's what I think. It's just like a heartbeat. It's just ever expanding. I mean, if you look at like what they've shown of like photos of like the real photos of like the universe and the galaxy, it's almost like it looks like your heart. It looks like your heart and stems and a tree and everything. It's all kind of like, if
it's infinite in every direction, how does it look like anything? You're talking about the universe, right?
No, I mean, it's just the pictures that we see, how it kind of forms like a tree of life. Almost.
Okay, yeah, because it's infinitely expanding in every direction, so it's kind of like a giant box, rectangle, or circle.
Yeah, I mean, and isn't that what we are doing? Is kind of infinitely always expanding in every direction.
That's true. Well, that's the thing. So there's some theories about at the cellular level that we have nuclear cold fusion happening in every cell. So if you think of qigong and you think of these different Eastern systems that have still kind of maybe had actual memory of, like Tartaria, they have memory of it actually being a thing, or dragons really being dinosaurs and really being real. It's like maybe dinosaurs are just dinosaurs, but somebody was around and saw the dinosaur and went, now it's a dragon. I mean, maybe there were actual dragon looking dinosaurs, but it's not like we've had every bone found of every dinosaur. So all right, fine. So I digress. I just think that if we have the universe constantly working at that same frequency, so basically every quartz crystal is picking up the universe's frequency at all times.
Yep. Because it's part of the universe. It's not separate. It's like a part of the ether almost.
Crystals are.
Yeah. Where they're like, we are just right now starting to and Tesla was discovering stuff and they like tried to like stop his research, and we are now, and then William Riker was using them with like all of the organite and stuff and helping to do, like weather modification, which it actually works. Like his crystals and like the organite, like accumulators actually do stop chemtrails. They actually do stop rain clouds and do stop.
All right. So then, do you think there's any one, if they're all, I gotta wonder then, is that if they're all vibrating at that frequency, is there a better crystal or not? Or are they all really doing the same thing because they're all?
So I'm only talking about quartz crystal right now in general. So it's just quartz.
Right. So quartz only vibrates at the universe's heartbeat.
Yep. So quartz is unique among all other crystals in that way, where it's where other crystals have different things where they help you with like different things, like say malachite helps you with your intuition, and that's why the Empress of China used to line all the walls in the palace used to be made of malachite, because it helped her intuition and helped her lead. And so there's like other like properties that crystals help to enhance inside you, like rose quartz helps to open up your heart chakra, and it actually is real. Like it's a love crystal. Like if you carry a bunch of rose quartz around in your heart and you're open to like love, all of a sudden you'll see a bunch of people looking at you and like, hey, look at this person. It actually is true, and then so that I've been studying like crystals forever, so it's kind of like.
So what crystals are you wearing right now?
I've got some Libyan desert glass, which is actually not really a crystal. It's a tektite. This is moldavite. This is also a tektite. I've got some jade, And then I've got some
It's all right.
some sodalite right here.
All right. What does that do?
It's like a protection crystal. And then jade, it's like the ancient, it's good money, good for other, for like manifesting luck and everything. And then this is also a tektite. So these are both manifestation crystals.
Well, do you think
desert glass?
Okay, let me ask you about money. Is money really manifestation of abundance?
I think money is just an energy. I think money
has its own energy.
Yeah.
Money itself. So the 3D world of man's money does have its own
energy.
Is it good or bad or neither?
No, I don't think it's neither. But I think too, like how people are able to manipulate the world outside them and stuff. So I think it's kind of, and what is really valuable? I mean, is money valuable? I mean, you look at why Libya and why they actually went after and killed him way back in the day. It's because he had all of Africa unite, and we're going to donate all of their gold, and Africa was going to create their own monetary system 100% backed by gold. They literally would have ruled the world. They would have been the only monetary system that's 100% backed by an actual physical product that we know is worth
money.
Yep. And so they literally, that's why they went after him, and then they said he's a terrorist and this and that, and try to badmouth him. But it's anyone that ever steps to the system with like a whole new thing, they got to get rid of them.
Like Bitcoin?
Yep.
All right. Well, we shall not go there. Right.
And actually, I heard Bitcoin, though, was like something different.
Look, we have this like opportunity with no holds bar with like Christy being gone. And again, just for a minute for everyone, thank you, Lightcom. Thank you, CKC, Good Food Catering, and Ascent Nutrition. Thank you for sponsoring ArcheoX. Check out our website. We're out here live every Wednesday. Christy will be back next week. Right now, we're guesting and hosting remotely with Aaron at Aaron's palatial estate. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. But yeah, getting back on it. We've covered crystals and copper and frequencies in reference to growing food and nutrients. By the way, I do want to rewind on that. And yes, we were just covering crystals and the heartbeat of the universe and quartz technology.
And copper. And copper, we always forget about copper. Copper is a natural healer.
It is.
It heals your sand. And that's why they actually used to say to put a copper penny in your shoe, because it actually helps to ground you and actually helps to ground your body.
But if you're in a rubber shoe, how is that going to help?
Because
I have earthing sandals.
The shoes didn't used to be rubber. They used to be real shoes. They didn't used to be rubber soles and everything. And so you would wear that, and it would help to ground you into the ground. And that's an ancient Tartaria thing, because they actually used to cover. If you look at like the old picture of the roads, they actually had copper lattices that were covering all the roads.
So that I didn't know. Now I have the earthing sandals, and I can't. Sorry for everyone who's watching. I can't give you the exact brand, but I have the earthing sandals that have the silver nanowires that connect between your toes. That has a copper point. So as long as I walk on the ground, I have a pair of sandals that actually grounds me.
Yep.
Because they have the silver threading to the copper point to the ground, and so you flip my sandal over, you'll see the copper point. But I'm actually grounded when I walk on the earth. So I have those. Ironically, I'm not wearing them right now, but they're great sandals. So yeah, where's the usefulness of the crystals in your opinion? How many crystals do you need to really, like, you got some around you, but like if we were to recommend anyone to like make a difference in their house, do you think it's best to just wear them, or do you think there's an amount or size?
Well, and if you wear them too, you also have to make sure you clean them at all times, because they do collect energy, and so they'll get dull, kind of, so they won't.
How do you declutter one?
So sage is a good one. So you'll take a smudge stick with either sage or Palo Santo, and you'll clear them that way. The moonlight and the sunlight are also two other ways that'll clear the crystal, and those are really good natural. Like on a full moon, you want to lay out all your crystals, and the moonlight will actually help to recharge them. It gets rid of all of like the resonance that they've collected, and it helps to make them new again, basically.
For how long do you have to put them out in sunlight or moonlight?
You can just overnight or during the day and stuff.
All right, so like for more than a half hour or 5 minutes, a few hours.
Yeah, and
Can you tell the difference if they
Oh,
get
yeah.
all loaded?
Yeah, because I do crystal healing, and so I can tell. And you definitely don't want to like, because especially like when you do crystal healing and you lay the crystals on people, is that the crystals will absorb stuff. Like like when I pull the crystals off of people, some of the crystals will be like hot to the touch, like they'll be like hot. Like I'll feel them, and I'll be like, because they are absorbing all of the negative energy and everything else that the people are that are getting healed are getting rid of, and then you can't lay those on someone else because you would literally be laying all of their negativity and everything else onto someone else. And so you want to make sure that you clean them and you clear them and everything else, and that they're all ready to go. And
once they absorb energy, can they, I know we're digressing into crystals for a minute, but once they absorb the energy, can they randomly, like, if you had two people doing it, like we did, Christy and I did that crystal healing with you.
Yep.
Can they pick up the other person? Or no, or do they absorb the person they're on?
Yeah, it's basically anything in your aura, So like, so when you put something, it's in your aura, which is basically a little invisible bubble that we all kind of have around us. So like we all have an aura.
Right.
There are some people that can see them. It's kind of a curse, let me tell you. But
because you can see them, right?
Yeah, I can see auras. I can see, and growing up, I always thought I was a little crazy, but then I was like, oh, there's other people that can do it. After a while, you start learning, you're like, oh, I'm not crazy.
No,
it's natural. It's like a hidden gift, but it's also kind of a curse in a way.
We're just saying hi. Hello.
Yep. Hello. Yep.
It's Nathan. But yeah, your opinion though about what I was trying to get to was like, you're wearing crystals, but what about in a house? Like you said, the emperors had on the walls, but what about how much do you need in the house?
And then selenite is another crystal too, which you can also clear them with that. And that's a natural heat. That's a natural heat, like crystal that heals everything. So you can take like a selenite wand, or you can place them on like a selenite like charging pad.
How long though? Again, like an hour or something, or all night?
Yeah, like an hour. An hour should do it. You put them on that, and that will help to clear, and that also charges them, because it's a natural charger. It's like, like all this stuff was given for us as gifts, basically from the universe, and for us to discover stuff or to relearn, basically. If
you have crystals though, how do they correspond or parallel? Like, would you want to combine sound frequency healing too?
Oh yeah.
Will the crystals pick up what the sound's doing?
Yep. They do, and they amplify it too. So I always use like tuning forks and stuff, and like the different sound frequencies, and put those in your ear so you can kind of hear them. So then they get absorbed into your body, and then kind of put them around different areas where you can kind of maybe tell, like, oh yeah, like if you let me know you have a knee ache or something like that, I'm going to put some sound frequency and some other stuff around that area.
You can do that. Yeah. And that's helpful.
Yep.
So there's not going to be the crystals themselves. They don't absorb the frequency of the sound. They amplify it.
Yep.
So they're not like negatively picking it up. They're amplifying those frequencies. So if you had a problem, like with a knee, like you're saying, would you put a particular crystal around it and a particular frequency?
Yeah,
something like that. You'd work it out.
Yeah,
and then
and then I'd probably lay my hands and massage, because I've got like good, where they're like if you lay your hands on people's knees, like if you're a massager, you could just lay your hands on them, and then you put your intention of healing sources, whatever, then energy is going to come out of you, a healing energy, and it's going to help to amplify them.
Nathan's pointing out crystals will do whatever you need them to do. They're little quantum walkie-talkies and computers. We're the interface. Good description?
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. That works. So what would you do if it was something more major, like catastrophic? Like if somebody had a surgery, or if they had like a heart attack or a stroke, or were dealing with cancer, would you treat them?
Oh yeah. They actually have shown, like Tesla even showed that this stuff does help with cancer, and William Reichert with his accumulators. His accumulators were like a box that you sit in, and it was like an orgonite accumulator, but there was also like crystal healing in it too. So you would sit in there, and the orgonite would get rid of all the negative energy, and then it would transmute it into positive energy, which is door, and then it would help to get rid of, like, to heal your cells, to heal your stuff. Another fun fact: do you know all the people that like all these rappers, all these other people that wear grills. This is on the same subject, you know.
Okay.
Like the gold grills.
Yeah.
Do you know that back in the day, that was like a sign? The grills were actually like are based on something that they used to do way back in the day, where they would put gold in your teeth, and then your teeth would regrow, and it would push.
Really?
Yeah, it would push out the gold, and then the gold would eventually get pushed out, and your teeth would regrow. But because we're eating all of this crappy foods and everything else, we aren't actually able to regrow our skin, regrow all this other stuff.
You're telling me that so Dr. Joe Wallach's 90 for Life vitamins, which by the way, which would be not a sponsor. However, because they've shown in clinical study, they showed regrowth of like like kneecap, like bone that was destroyed. It literally, the right vitamins and minerals will allow your body to repair itself. So you're saying that if I had gold in my mouth, like, does it have to be right where I would want the tooth to be regrown? Yeah.
And then where you would have a thing, and then they used to actually say, oh yeah, you have gold in your mouth, and they would tell, oh, you have a problem with your tooth, but it's going to regrow. And then once the tooth regrows, it pushes the gold out.
Why doesn't anyone try? Are there any trials for that?
No, we don't, because our mind, like a lot of the stuff, you have to like actually be, you know, like vibrating at that frequency to actually be able to have these things actually work. And so if you're not vibrating at that frequency, it's not going to work.
For the repair?
And a lot of the foods and chloride and the toothpaste and all this other stuff that we eat is to keep us vibrating at a low frequency. And so we aren't able to actually access all of these healing like frequencies that are all around us, because our frequency is vibrating low. And so like fast food, all this other stuff, it's been shown to have you as a human vibrate at a lower frequency, and it lowers your frequency. And so then you're not able to access the healing. So even if you did the gold, if you're still eating McDonald's and all this other crappy stuff, because you're going to vibrate at such a low frequency, it's not going to work. You would actually have to be, you know, like eating healthy, exercising, doing everything else on top of, and then you're going to be vibrating at that frequency, and then boom, it's going to work.
Wow. So you're any other, besides regrowing my teeth, which would be great. Yeah. What else do you got for, you know, is there any other unused current gold or crystal, anything
well, gold is better than copper. You know, gold is the number one amplifier, but of course it's so expensive. Who's going to use gold? You're saying, who's going to actually use gold to wrap their crystals and wrap everything else, because it's so expensive that if you try to get some gold wire,
like 14 karat,
as opposed to like,
all right. So that's not, so basically we'd be doing better for water pipes if they were gold.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, supposedly King Solomon back in the day, everything was gold in his, you know.
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly he found the Philosopher's Stone, and which he was able to turn everything into gold. And speaking of that, let's talk about CERN. And
all right,
just a month ago,
CERN
actually, they were able to create gold out of lead.
Okay, they did, but they did it at like the tiniest amount of particles.
And they still didn't discover the Philosopher's Stone, because when you actually do that, you're supposed to achieve enlightenment, and that's part of why you're able to like do that.
Okay.
And so I'm almost positive that no one at CERN has achieved enlightenment.
Okay, or they're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
they did, but they're applying it to the wrong thing.
Or they're worshiping the wrong entity.
Yeah, but so here's the problem. So take Michael Cremo. For those listening, it's like, one, thank you, CKC. We have sponsors, Ascent Nutrition and Lightcom. But we also are, I haven't mentioned this is big news. And actually, for those of you watching in real time, you're going to want to know this. On July 2nd, RQX, Christy and I are hosting Michael Cremo's book release, which is his first book release in 7 years. He will be giving a live lecture, which you will be able to buy tickets for on rqx.com and at Extreme Human Antiquities. I'm really looking forward to it. Christy's looking forward to it. But yeah, Michael Cremo. So forbidden archaeology, human de-evolution, the whole idea of human antiquity, paleoanthropologists. The reason I'm bringing it up isn't just about the live lecture. And this is Michael also taking questions and answer time and talking about this. We'll be moderating it and hosting this. This is July 2nd. It'll be a web presentation. You guys it's going to be $10. Please join. It's going to be epic. So tell everyone, everyone who's watching right now, tell everyone about the Michael Cremo thing. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because He does forbidden archaeology, and then human de-evolution, which is this follow-up. It still gives all this stuff about some of the forbidden archaeology finds. So let me give you one, which I had to be reminded of because I hadn't read the original book I read before I put up my first book, and I referenced a bunch of it. But one of the things I didn't reference was they busted open, dynamited some marble that was in a layer of earth that was 600 million years old. They pulled out a vase with silver inlay on it out of solid rock, which was 600 million years old, but with silver inlay, and it was finely done. So where I'm going to is that when we talk about CERN and we talk about praying to the right entities, we have a problem. If every entity you're praying to is only 5,000 years old, perhaps.
Oh no, we're talking about ancient days, trying to like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Brahmanas, like the Hindus, we have their texts, but we don't have any religious thing. Okay, we have the Anunnaki, but again, it's the only references we have for any gods or anything is like 5,000 years old. So what do we do with like? Are
we've
they
been
the same
through
gods?
I just think we've been through so many different resets.
You're right, but what does that have to do with like what I'm saying though is that we've been through so many resets. So are people even understanding who the real gods are?
No, because it's been bastardized. Because most of these people that rule this world now are worshiping Baal and Moloch, and they're worshiping like the gods that they like to do human sacrifices and give them fake powers and stuff for.
Yeah, but there's the thing. It's like yes. So they're doing this. All I'm saying is that the gods that we're looking at now in the last 5,000 years. What do we do with 600 million or the corkscrew spheres? What do we do with 3 billion or 4 billion years of human history? The people at CERN, they're kind of making gold, and they may or may not be. I mean, tell them about Lucifer. Tell them about Lucifer.
Well, they're opening portals.
Okay.
They've admitted that. The scientists admitted all that. They've opening portals. I applied for a job at the first CERN back in the day. I was going to get it. But I decided they probably didn't want me there. But, I just kind of wanted to get as much information as possible and stuff. But at CERN too, they actually even said on their website when they opened it up, this is opening for our God and Lord and Savior, Lucifer, and everything else. There's like, everyone knows about the Shiva statue in front, but a lot of people are misconstrued. They think Shiva is like the Hindu god of death, when Shiva is actually the Hindu god of rebirth. And Shiva is a perfect god. Shiva rebuilds and destroys. It's like the phoenix.
Okay.
As you get destroyed, you get rebuilt into something greater. And that's what a lot of people forget about, that's the real history of Shiva. And like if you study like the Bhagavad Gita and like Upanishads and other Hindu, like books and read about all that stuff, you'll actually know that's kind of what it is. I mean, they even like talk about the Bhagavad Gita when their Parna is like, you got to go to war with your own brothers and your own cousins and everything else because they're effed up basically. And you need to like save the world kind of is what,
Yeah. The only solution is to kill everyone.
Yep. And,
That's
which is
it.
And there's all that history, they talked about nuclear bombs and there's like all those pictures of like metal that's melted, like brick that's melted and stuff with like, there's like no way that with all the fire and brimstone stories where they found all of that exactly where it was. I think it's all true. I think there were giants. I mean, we have like, let's talk about the giants and let's talk about, they used to be giants in the days everywhere. I mean, they just found another giant like sandal.
They did?
Yeah. This
was
like,
it's not AI.
No, this was a week ago.
What?
And they found it and the sole went from here to here. And it was a leather sole. I've got it. I just saw the video.
So for everyone else, so you sure it's not AI and they didn't make it up?
I'm positive it's not AI. And I've seen all the pictures. Minnesota and Wisconsin, they discovered a lot of giants back in the early 1900s, like giants. They were like 12 feet tall giants, and they discovered them all around. Also, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, they also have found traces that we were a seabed. We were under the sea back in the day, like before the earth shifted. This is where we were like paradise. We were like, this was like,
it was, that's a nice platitude. Maybe it was true, but it's always like, the fraction of a second that we don't understand something, it was always a better place. they were better people. It's like, what if they were worse? What if they're awful human beings?
Oh yeah, well, but the whole United States. I mean, we have more pyramids in the United States. Everything else. I mean, we're the actually real ancient Egypt. That they all talk about is.
We'll get into that a little bit. It's like, okay, so we have the stories of all the Egyptian stuff that sort of shows up in the Grand Canyon.
Well, and Memphis. Let's talk about Memphis. Let's talk about the big pyramid in Memphis where they found all of that.
Okay.
And there was that huge one where they found the worship Nefertiti and all this stuff where they were worshiping Isis
in
and
Memphis,
Osiris.
in America.
In America. I sent you that whole video where you.
Okay, so let's just say that just for those that don't know, let's talk a little bit about what did they find?
They found a huge pyramid. They excavated it, and they actually found artifacts. And they found that the people were worshiping Isis and Osiris, and that. I mean, this was and of course, then the Smithsonian came in and all the researchers, but they just actually did. They do have proof. They do have newspapers. They do have the stories that they found this pyramid and they dug it out and they have.
So the pyramid's gone.
I believe it's still there. I believe you can still
go to it, but is it just a mound? Do they bury it?
It's just a mound. It's just
Oh man, that sucks. All right,
there's that. There's like the Kincaid ones and the Grand Canyon, and they blocked off all the Grand Canyon. You can't even 90% of the Grand Canyon is blocked off.
So Rex and I from Leak Project, we went to the Grand Canyon. We had a Navajo friend, one of specifically Rex's friends. So we four-wheeled it out there, and it's not a short trip. So we went, we had the coordinates to go to the edge of where it's supposed to be. And people had tried to descend there and try to look for it. This cliff, by the way, where the point of the Kincaid cave is at 3,500 feet if you're up above.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that the story goes that Kincaid's going down the river and he sees the cave, right?
I actually read his whole diary and everything too. And then he talks about all the different artifacts and the Buddha artifacts and all these different stuff. And then there was one tunnel though. So this is where I think it's actually true, because there's one tunnel he said he didn't go down because it smelled like death. It smelled like just death. And then all of a sudden the Grand Canyon, they were excavating snake dung. And you remember that whole story? And they were taking it in.
It was bat.
The bat dung. Yep. And they were saying this is this valuable resource, and they were taking it out in cable cars. They had a cable car, and then after 15 years of doing that, all of a sudden an Air Force jet shot down that cable car, knocked it down, and we're like, oh, we actually got all the bat dung out, which they were carrying cable cars. Don't you think that would be an easy way for 15 years to take out a treasure, to put it out there and to bury it in the dat? Because he did say there was a deathy smell down one thing, which could have been bat dung, which would have smelled like death.
So they did. Okay. Yeah, true. So I've been to that point of the Grand Canyon where the cave is. I've seen the cable car. I've seen where it was. I've seen the equipment is still there. And you can see the opening of where the cave is. Well, the thing that I wonder about is the spot where Kincaid was supposed to see it. And by the way, so Nathan was pointing out, didn't NASA take over that part of the Grand Canyon? So Rex and I are there with our friend, and the issue with it is that, so you're floating down the Grand Canyon. 3,500 feet is a long ways. That's over a half a mile. It's closer to a whole mile than it is not. But you're going down the Grand Canyon. So this is what's hard for me with the Kincaid thing. Not to say that it's not true, but he said he pulled over, he saw a cave, and then he crawled up to the cave, right? Well, if that cave wasn't within 100 feet of the ground, 200 feet, 300 feet, maybe at 700 feet, you kind of get a good look at it. But I can tell you that 1,000 feet, it would be almost impossible to see.
But that's not a mile up, because there's no area in the Grand Canyon that's looking up a straight mile.
3,500 feet though. 3,500 feet. So from the
river. But they had binoculars back then.
So here's the other thing. They're wearing swashbuckler boots from 19 whatever.
Yeah, but they did have binoculars.
And they may have had binoculars, but they sure the hell didn't have 3,500 feet of rope. Or let's say, they weren't going to the top 1,800 feet, 1,800 feet, or 1,500 feet.
But you know how to climb. You don't need that much rope. All you need is 60 feet of rope and another person, and you can literally climb back and forth. I mean, I know how to climb. I could do that.
You need Alex Honnold.
No, you don't need Alex Honnold. Not for those trust me, sandstone and on the Grand Canyon, you do not need Alex Honnold.
It's super chalky.
I've climbed out there.
Okay. It's super chalky. However, let's just say that it's only 1,000 feet up, which you would even see an opening that high up would take eagle eyes. But let's say
but there's like a ton of openings at the Grand Canyon. It's not just that one. There's like
there's a bunch,
hundreds of them.
Okay, so there's a cave system. So I go there with Rex and I start learning about the cave systems. So there is one particular cave system in the Grand Canyon that they've exported to about 60 miles of it, but it's over that. They don't know how far it goes.
Yeah, that's because Madame Blavatsky talked about the cave systems that connects everything. That once Shambhala went down, they went underground and they did caves that connected everything. That's why all these different civilizations all popped up around the globe.
Yeah, because the Earth sucked on the surface, so they went underground.
They went underground, and they said to save Shambhala or Eden or whatever else you want to call it. That they went underground. Tibet was one. They went to South America. That they went to like all these different areas where they dug underground, and then they came up, and then they repopulated that civilization. That's why there's all these great civilizations around the world that they're like, these people were gods, and they had pyramids, they had everything else.
So we got the ant people, we got leprechauns, we got all the little people, the moon-eyed people from the Southern America.
Oh, that's another thing too with that Memphis pyramid, is that there were burial mounds where that Memphis pyramid was that he found, and the burial mounds were like way later than where the pyramid was. And so they did not attribute those to the Native American people. The Native American people even said that they killed the people who owned the pyramid, who were like there for the pyramid. They came from the stars, and these people came down from the star. The same thing as the Moonite people. It's the exact same story. They came from the stars. They built this civilization, and then
what if coming from the stars was just like coming from the sky? I mean, anything coming from the sky would be coming from the stars.
Exactly. So and the stars is really what underground, under the oceans. But you could fly up there from the oceans, and then or from from the other side of Antarctica, from the ice wall, and come over here, and you're still up in the air, so it's still from the stars.
Do you ever get tired of the whole Atlantis thing then? Or not tired, but do you think like these are just all overlapping stories that are similar?
Oh yeah, because they're all based, but because there's so many stories that are similar, it lets you know that it's probably true. Why is there a flood myth in every single culture? Why, so it was like the Great Deluge, that actually happened. There was, every single culture has a flood myth. And there's the stories where the Earth didn't have a moon. And we can talk about how the moon is older than the Earth.
Pause on the moon, Nathan, to your point about NASA. So I've mentioned this before, but Rex and I, before I forget, his thing about NASA taking over that part where the Kincaid Cave is, we went exactly to the geo coordinates of where it was. We did not fly a drone that was like a very, very expensive advanced piece of equipment that would allow us to, in high definition, see the sides of the canyon wall. We did not do thermal imaging. However, but to get out there, when we got back, we had parked one car at a public park area. When we got back, there were 5 guys, oddly all leaning on their car. There's 5 of them are standing around one car.
Yeah, the feds, because 90% of that area is blocked off. Literally, the Grand Canyon, 90% is federal owned land. You can't go there
unless you're a Navajo.
Yep.
Well, okay, there's a number of tribes. A lot of people don't know this. The Grand Canyon is over 420 miles long, like 425 officially, but there are different tribes that own the land around it. So if you're not there with an actual Navajo, at least for this section where the Kincaid Cave is, we ain't getting there. No. But fortunately, we got to go with someone of the nation, and never getting tired of Atlantis stories. Thank you, Nathan.
Oh, and
but yeah, we went there. So we went there. All I'm saying is that we went there, and when we got out, and it was really weird. These 5 guys that were sitting by their car, it was like clearly they were there
because
for us.
Yeah, because that should also let you know that it's probably real.
Yeah,
stuff, because otherwise, and how about, so you were at South Africa. You saw all the gold mines and all the mines and how they looked. They look exactly like the Grand Canyon. So the Grand Canyon looks like a mine that's been stripped. I mean, if you know anything about mines and what they look like, the Grand Canyon literally looks like
a megalithic culture. Looks like a mine. It does. It looks like a megalithic culture dug it out. and you got to wonder what they dug out.
Yeah.
And I know there's that missing mineral that they attribute to an epoch of or not human, but geological time period, that there's a whole layer of mineralogy missing from the Grand Canyon. You can go down that rabbit hole. There is actually the mineral content of the Grand Canyon is not correct. Yeah. It appears that a section of it was mined out and it should exist, but it doesn't.
And then we can also talk about
what Atlanteans did that. Yeah.
And then there's also the Sphinx at the Grand Canyon. There's also that other thing that looks exactly like a Sphinx, that looks like, that other part where it's just missing that top of the head. Yeah, the top of it, but it literally looks like exactly where. And then they also show where the pyramids could have been too. So.
You know what? I haven't exactly seen. Yes, I heard of the Sphinx thing. I can think of a monument that was supposed to be like some sort of an Egyptian structure, but you got to wonder then.
Because there's also that story too, where they told of Nefertiti when she was being pursued and came down, and she was all like, "Oh," and then she gathered her people and then came over, and they gathered their ships.
They didn't get killed.
Yeah,
they came to America.
Yeah, there's that myth too.
Okay, so that I'm kind of optimistic. I kind of want that because, like, the story of Anthony and Cleopatra, it's like it always bummed me out as a kid. Yeah. I'm like, man, I wish they could have made it. And I don't know why. They're probably horrible people, but it's like I wanted them to make it and not get whatever destroyed. At the same time, it's like, okay, so let's just say that. So being reminded of Michael Cremo's, again, book release.
Oh,
ArchaeoX.
How about that other one with the ancient alien guy where they found all of those other things?
Giorgio
or what was it? What was in Illinois where he found a bunch of the Egyptian things in Illinois too?
Or Scott Walter.
Yeah, Scott Walter. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely Mayan blue. They found it in Georgia. There's a whole America Unearthed episode about that. Definitely check out Scott's show, America Unearthed. But Georgia Mayan blue, the color. People don't understand color. Color was a technology,
and that color did not exist. They literally created that color.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that color is not a simple thing. It's actually every color had to be invented the way to make it to replicate it equally every time. So we'd both have like tan shirts or blue shirts or black shirts. In order to do it, it wasn't just different things. They had to make they had to make color, and whether it was for a painting or for a product or something, it was something new. But clearly, Mayan blue came from Georgia, and they have step pyramid-like looking things in Georgia. But then also in Wisconsin, in Michigan, there appears to be mound pyramid structures that would be easily Incan or Mayan.
And then underneath in the water too, in Lake Michigan, they found all of that stuff too. There's pyramids.
So there's a megalith. So there's a megalithic stone circle area that had to that we talked about that. Yeah. Christy and I talked about this just a couple weeks ago. This thing is at least 7,000 to 9,000 years old. This is before Lake Michigan had water in it, which really puts it pre-Diluvian flood time. So we have some trouble. We have some real trouble with like having a stone circle that's megalithic in that pond. But also there's another lake in Wisconsin, Scott Walter, again, America Unearthed. There's 3 Neolithic, Paleolithic pyramid-like structures that are in the bottom of the lake. And again, it had to have been close to the Younger Dryas or before that this would have been above water. So it's like, what's going on? Because we have that contemporary history.
And then all the giants that they found in the same area as well. So you're like, what it was going on at was it just a bunch of giants building pyramids? And
well, like in Minnesota, we have Mound, Minnesota, and we have Mounds View, Minnesota. You literally have thousands of mounds in both cities, which are big suburbs here in Minnesota near Minneapolis. And these suburbs no longer have those mounds. They got bulldozed. Some are left, but you got to wonder. There are shell mounds. There's one in Brazil. This is sad. They used it for fill for their freeways. It was a shell mound. It goes back, and there were shell mounds in America too. Multiple football fields in length and width and height. These were like cityscapes. These were huge, and they were all made out of shell. So the carbon dating on that, and yes, some of them had burials in them, but those burials may have come later. They may not be contemporary to the mound. So it's really hard that we have this shell culture or these shell people that were building these mounds all across Central, South, and Upper America, and we have no eyes on the carbon dating or the ability to say, hey, these people were here forever. They were going back to giants. and that were, again, how were the giants living? Like, what were they living with? Like, what was their, like, what did their house look like?
There was that story too from like the Southwest where they talked about the giants, and they went to war with the giants and they killed all the giants, and they actually found like giant bones and giant skeletons with like like wounds and stuff, like fractured skulls and all this other stuff.
Hey, Jeff. So Jeff here is a friend of the show's and one of our friends. Allegedly, there is a pyramidal mound in Upper Michigan on the Onondaga Lake Superior, River, 5 miles of. Sorry, Jeff, if I screwed that one up. The mouth of the Lake Superior. Hoping to visit it soon and come up with my own opinions on it. Yeah, Upper Michigan on the Onondaga River, 5 miles up. That's the thing. There's so many pyramid structures that are clearly a mound period, den of stone, America on Earth. It's not. It's Neolithic. It's not contemporary. They kept saying that colonial people just were messing around. It's like 9,000 years from the fire pit, carbon dating and everything else. It's like we clearly aren't getting our history right. But these giants, the one thing I never speculate on, and now that you're here, now I kind of want to. What do you think giants were doing? Like,
causing chaos.
Do you think they were good or bad then? They were bad?
Bad, probably. Well, I mean, supposedly they were like, if we really want to go the whole story about the Nephilim and how the giants were actually created, I don't know if we want to go down that route.
No, here's why I'm not going to go there. Like you just said, 12-foot giants are still massive. 20-foot giants, that's another story.
And then there's the 200-foot giants where they're like where they're like laying down, and people are saying that these are like petrified giants of mountains and stuff throughout history.
So this is the issue then. The Nephilim, or the angelic, or the Anunnaki, the giants of space, or Enoch, whatever. There's those. There's those. But where are the 12-foot ones, the 20-foot ones, and the 200-foot tall ones? Are they related? Because I feel like they're different. I'm just saying, it's like, do you think they're the same or related or not?
Well, it's like us. I mean, Homo sapiens and Homo erectus and everything else. Are we?
Okay. The great thing I rely on is forbidden archaeology, where the bone structures where they made up most of this, literally made up what they did in order to create the story of the finds. These are factual. By the way, this is my opinion. Michael Cremo did years of work, laid it all out in forbidden archaeology, which is why they made him part of the Archaeological Congress, the International Archaeological Congress. The reason Michael, they can't beat him, they made him join or got him to join. The reality is that the work shows that you have these bones that were supposed to be these certain Neanderthal, pre-Neanderthal humans that are socially evolutionary. The evidence for them is so weak. The evidence is so weak for human evolution. In fact, the funny thing is that the evidence for human evolution can be placed on you guys can't see it. We are at a coffee table in front of us. It's 4x4, but I don't think you need much room. I think a dining room table could fit all the alleged evidence for human, pre-human.
There was a point where they showed where our brain went from like nothing to like everything. So what happened there?
Okay, wait, pause, because that's what everybody says. So here's where the story goes. You point out something that everybody knows, which is supposedly human brains got suddenly really big. That is not true, because we have 1.3, 6.2, 3.2, 60 million. We have clear evidence of anatomically correct humans millions of years, hundreds of thousands of years before they were supposed to be advanced. So
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that. I'm not talking about like millions. I'm not talking about. What I'm saying is that if you want to go back to like what those stories of Enki and everyone else, where they created us, where they in a lab, they literally created man. They created us, and there are things in our DNA that are.
You're right. Make no sense.
That are like
the cuts, and
they're like, it's too perfect. You're like, how did that?
So all right,
it could be created. We could be created.
Let's go with the Anunnaki for a second. So we have the stories that we have so the Sumerians have a king's list. The pre-flood list shows 8 kings living 260 something thousand years.
Which also coincides with Narubu coming around in orbit. And so the king's so the king's thing is that once Narubu came back in orbit, and it coincides with that. And so that's when you're a king thing. And there was a couple of kings that actually served more than like a single term, the planet coming back and stuff. So then once it went down to humans, and the story is that Adam, or Adam, as they was, the Anunnaki, is that he was offered the fruit in heaven that he could have also attained eternal life.
Okay.
And he didn't take in the fruit because he did not want to be separate from all the other men. And so he wanted to be similar to them. So he did not take the fruit. And so that's why his kingship was only like, was it 60 years, I think, or something, like the first one.
Okay, so let's just say that the King's List is the descending kings and it's pre-flood. So let's say all of human history is 275,000 years. That's when there were let's say the King's List and the post-flood, we got 270 something thousand years, right? But then if we're saying that Anunnaki leveled up humans, they would have had to have done it millions of years prior to that. Yep. But then why is there no cuneiform history that's older than 5,000 years? You know what I mean?
Well, you said there was that artifact that was 6 million years old, and they've been finding
600 million.
Yeah, and they've been finding other things that are like that have throughout history that are like super old too, that are like they're predating stuff. So you're like, I think it's like they fake a lot of the history. Like they like to fake because it's a way to control people.
Okay. So Klerksdorp spheres that are 2.5 to 3.5 billion years old that look like croquet balls.
Yep.
They're machined and they have fibrous interiors, like they're really, really ancient tennis balls or croquet balls or something. What do you do if the planet is 6 to 9 billion years old? What do you do with Klerksdorp spheres that clearly look like somebody was gaming at like ancient, like top golf?
Yeah, or they found those other ones in the Mayan artifacts that look like a cell phone or look like the QR code and stuff, where they found those ancient artifacts that had the.
All right, let's see. What else does Jeff have? Lovelock Cave, the giant story, I believe, with red hair.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and the red hair is funny too.
Okay, why?
So red hair. So Muslims throughout the world, Muslims nowadays, if they have red hair, it means you're like an honored. All of like the caliphs and stuff all dye their hair red. Have you noticed that a lot of Muslims will dye their hair red? And they do that because Muhammad, the prophet, had red hair, but he was also light skinned too, and everything else. And he received all of his knowledge, his wisdom from the green man, Al-Qatar, which which is known as like the green man.
Okay.
And so, so did he, because what's the story where like the reptilian people grew alongside man and they went underground and stuff, like if we want to talk about like.
Can we talk about Land of the Lost then? And like Slee Stacks?
Oh, speaking of giants, how about the Great Wall of China and all the fortifications that are actually looking outward that like, I don't think China built it. Just supposedly, it looks like the other land that would have been on the other side of it in the ancient days would have been Tartaria. And they were building the Great Wall as a protection for them. Because if you look at all the fortifications, everything else,
they face China.
They face China.
Not the other way around.
No, it's not the other way around.
I did not know that.
And so that's like a huge thing. And so why was this land? Because supposedly to keep out the wild giants and everything else from Tartaria invading their land.
So you got to wonder, it's like, why is every story giants bad? Like, what if the 12-foot ones were nice or the 20-foot ones were dicks? Or
I think it's kind of like along the lines of big and strong, little brain. Supposedly, isn't that what they said, that they created them as workers? Supposedly, like if you want to go back to the Anunnaki and Enlil, he created the worker class. They were like big and strong with small brains. And Adam, like all the biblical stories of Adam talk about, he was a giant. I mean, if you talk about, like, everyone talks about, the first Adam, the first man was a giant.
Okay, so
and let's talk about all the trees that were all chopped down. If you look at like all these big, huge mountains that look exactly like giant trees that were chopped down, and supposedly, the biblical stories, they cut down all the trees before the Great Flood, so the giants would have nowhere to hide.
Okay, you see some problems with this,
Yeah.
right? Why don't you say them? Like, what? How many trees would you chop? For
But-
how many giants would let you chop all their trees if you're the little guy?
No, supposedly, what God sent his angels down to chop, and if the trees, and so
What were the giants doing while they were chopping?
probably getting their ass kicked by the angels.
That's the truth of the matter. It's ass kicking angels of giant fighting. That was going on. Giant MMA fighting. They were trying to get rid of the angels were trying to get rid of giants.
But there is that story in the American Southwest, though, that actually had actual fossils that found, and the native people used to say that their ancestors fought with the giants. The giants came down,
Okay.
and there was and they also said too that there was the people that taught their race came from the stars,
Okay.
and then the giants also came down through the same portal. Like maybe it's a Stargate, maybe it's something. Supposedly, isn't that why the U.S. went? Because Saddam Hussein supposedly had 2 parts of a Stargate, like an ancient Stargate.
Really?
And that's why we also went and we pillaged all of our antiquities. The body of Gilgamesh was also found in Iraq a month before. And you can look at every single newspaper. A month before the Iraq war happened, the BBC talks about it. It was on every major newspaper.
The body of Gilgamesh?
Yeah, the body of Gilgamesh. And then the U.S. military came over, took over the expedition, and then the Iraq war happened, and everyone forgot about the body of Gilgamesh being found. And then Hillary Clinton, in her uncovered emails, addresses, where are all the Nephilim hiding? Where's the body of Gilgamesh, and where's the resurrection chamber? Those are her exact words in one of her texts.
You got to wonder what they would want with the body and what the body was or is.
I mean, they showed the picture. It looked like
they actually show a picture of the actual body.
The actual body of the head and everything. It's
not AI.
No, this was before AI. This was Iraq war. There was no AI.
Well, this is secret. That's clandestine AI. So, no, seriously. So it's
and it was in the BBC.
Size?
Yeah, and it was the coffin. I mean, they showed, and they're like
normal size body.
Nah, definitely not.
Bigger?
Yeah, it looked like a giant. And then how come that when the U.S. how come we pillaged the Antiquities Museum and we literally grabbed every single thing has been taken out of there that had any value of ancient religion. All the ancient artifacts were all missing out of the Antiquities, the Iraq Antiquities Museum. And then everything that showed ancient Samaria all got destroyed during the Iraq war too. Anything that showed ancient Samaria, and Iraq was huge. They had ancient Sumerian stuff. I mean, you can look at all the pictures prior to the Iraq war because it was documented of all the expeditions and stuff, and they show all the ancient Sumerian artifacts and stuff. And I mean, Iraq was
where it ended up.
Yeah, they're probably using it. They're probably they're probably doing, trying to work the technology for themselves. Trying to.
Yeah. Agreed. 100% agreed. Well, man, what else haven't we covered in the?
Oh, and they also forgot about the diamond mines. So I knew someone in Iraq that was a soldier, and he said they found the biggest diamond mines ever in Iraq.
Really? In Iraq?
Yeah. During the war, that was another reason why they went there, is because all the diamond mines. And diamonds are just they operate like crystals too.
Aren't they a crystal though?
Yeah, they are. They're basically like an offshoot of a quartz crystal, and they operate the same way as quartz crystals.
You think maybe people would have better marriages then? They were always wearing diamonds.
Yeah, but it's because De Beers, he made you pay $1 million more for what that diamond's actually worth, because he wanted to but we're not going to talk about Jacob De Beer and that whole conspiracy.
No, none of that. Yeah. Anything else you can crush us into in the next 5 minutes or no? No.
I mean, man, there's I mean, how about that other thing where that other ancient expedition over in Turkey?
Talking about the one about Göbekli Tepe?
Yeah, that now the government says, oh no, you're not allowed to explore it anymore, and they put what was it, a 10-year thing?
No, 100. They said now it's under the World Bank. You can't even make this up. Jimmy from Bright Insight. Jimmy, thank you for doing the work, because he got banned basically from the country. He put out a video that said, so Klaus Schmidt, the guy who worked there for 44 years, his wife, who's alive, I believe it's Ann or Anna Schmidt. They built concrete roads on ruins to the tourist area.
I saw that they destroyed that stuff on purpose, so they could destroy it, so you wouldn't be able to.
And then they started planting trees, which, by the way, they've now, because of Jimmy, I think because of Jimmy, they tore the trees out, but they put plants directly on where the ruins are. Those plants would destroy the ruins.
Well, in those ruins, talk about 6 billion years old and other ancient technology and stuff. I mean, they
could be really old.
Yeah, they were. I mean, what they were like talking initially was like millions of years old.
The thing about this site is that Jimmy does this work, points out the world, no joke, the World Bank is in charge of it now.
Yeah,
and they said it's going to take 150 years to research it.
Yeah, and it's and they're not actually researching.
No, there's no
research. They don't have a team. They don't have anything. No, they actually said, I remember the statement is that we do not have the technology or the capabilities to actually do
the excuse
a proper like research of this. So we are going to wait until we have the technology to research it. I'm like, okay, so basically in a long roundabout statement, you're telling us that this is ancient technology that you have no clue, and this is beyond your capabilities, and it's going to rewrite everything, and you want to keep it locked because you're afraid of what happens if the world finds out that, this would rewrite everything, and no one would trust your little charade.
Yep, it's pretty awful. It's not okay. What Jeff? What are you up to? Where are we going? What are we doing? Oh yeah, that's true. And Karen, by the way, there's 6 tepes that when I wrote originally, there was 6 tepes. Neroli, there's Neroli, or whatever. It's all Turkish. So sorry everyone who's from Turkey, but Göbekli is one of them. But it's basically Potbelly Hill. That's what they were called, but in reality they're buried ruin sites. Where did Jeff start here? Yeah, I don't think they're locked in the basement in private collections either. But
no, I think they're utilizing whatever technology they can get out of there, and they're trying to figure it out, trying to back engineer it.
Yeah, and if they're putting boardwalks and they're putting sidewalks and they're putting roads in for you to go visit these places, when they have less than 5%, first off, they say 5% is what they've dug up.
It's not even that. It's like 1%.
It could be 0.05.
It's like hardly anything.
No, it's squat. It's absolutely squat.
And mud flood, another thing that was buried, all this technology was buried in the mud flood.
Yeah. So we can entertain people for 5 more minutes. What do you think? You got anything that you want to close on?
Yeah.
We crushed almost an hour and a half already.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, this technology is just
the crystal technology, or are you talking about all the stuff they keep recovering and not sharing?
Yeah. All of the stuff they keep on recovering, not sharing. I mean, if we want to go about the ancient resets, if you just read the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, and you just read about the technology, I mean, they had flying machines. They were so advanced, and everything got destroyed by a nuclear bomb. And there's actually proof where they found remnants of nuclear chemicals and everything else. There was that would only be happen from an arc reactor.
So there's vitrification, there's melted stones, there's a lot of indications of nuclear weapons. Yeah, that's true. This I don't know.
And it's kind of okay, if there's a reset, so is that humanity doesn't get there and we keep on getting to the point and then we destroy ourselves. So if that's the case, it seems like we are on the point of another reset right now.
Do you think there's any of these gods left, or do you think they're just ancient advanced humans or aliens, and do you think they're just around still? Or
yeah, they're definitely around. They're definitely trust me, there's ancient powers. I mean, there's people that are using telekinesis and mind control and other things, all these different things, that they say are X-Men powers.
Why aren't they doing it collectively though? Why aren't they doing something more organized with it, do you think?
Because people are afraid of getting found out and then being put in a cage, and then next thing you know, you're being an experiment of the government, and they're poking you, and they're trying to find out your blood and be like, oh, so that's how you can do telekinesis. I want to put that into my Neuralink. That's
fabulous. Shit. So, good stopping point, or you got anything else?
Yeah. Just that, it's been fun having a good conversation, kind of going down rabbit holes like we always do.
Yeah, no kidding. Remember, guys, everybody watching, next we are hosting Michael Cremo's book
Yeah.
release. He's going to talk for an hour. He's
Mhm.
going to do questions and answers. It's going to be hosted on archaeox.com. Christy and I will be hosting it, although please join. Information about that will be forthcoming soon. You guys get the heads up. Anybody watching now, you are getting the heads up about the Michael Cremo book release. If you sign up at Human Antiquities, you can actually get a copy of the new book signed. We're going to have a lot more info on archaeox.com and on ancienthumanantiquity.com. The event, you can sign up there. You can sign up on archaeox.com starting next week. It will be July 2nd. It'll be in the evening, and we'll release the rest of that information next week. But I'm excited about that. And I again want to thank my sponsors, our sponsors. Christy and I want to thank Lightcom, CKC Good Food Catering, and Ascent Nutrition. Appreciate all of you guys for watching tonight. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks.